Hi, everyone. I attended the Education Career Fair at UBC a few days ago, met some fantastic um, upcoming teacher candidates, and got some great questions from them about teaching abroad in Canadian accredited international schools. So I thought, well, let's add a few more to our Q&A session. So the first question, and this one has come up many times, is how will teaching in a BC offshore school impact seniority and pay scale when I return to Canada? So first of all, to answer that question, we need to separate two things. One is seniority, and the second is pay scale. So the bad news is seniority is generally tied to a particular public school district or a particular school if you're in an independent school or even a BC offshore school, for example. So what I tell people at the fair when they ask this question is you could teach for 25 years in the Vancouver school district and you just want to get a job a 10-minute drive away in Richmond school district, you will have zero seniority transferred over to the new district. This is the same if you were working in a BC offshore school. The good news, however, is all of your time working in a BC offshore school, because it's a certified school accredited by the British Columbia Ministry of Education, all that time is recorded with the teacher regulation branch. And in my role as an offshore school representative, every year I'm obligated to report our teaching staff to the teacher regulation branch. So any future employers, when you move back to British Columbia in particular, they will be able to log into the Teacher Regulation Branch website as an employer, search for your name and your certificate number, and they can see a history of your employment in British Columbia schools, whether they're public schools, independent schools, or BC offshore schools. So that's a great benefit. And that means that if you worked for, say, 8, 9, or 10 years in a BC offshore school, when you returned to British Columbia and secured a job in a public school district, you would be placed, although you have no seniority, you would be placed once you'd secured your job at the top step. So, currently that would mean something around like $85,000, $86,000, $87,000 if you had got your 8 or 9 years of experience. So that's a great benefit. I hope that helps answer the question. I should add, this is one of the benefits of working in a BC offshore school compared to working in a school district or a school system rather outside of the BC offshore school system. So I have a friend, a former colleague who worked for 5 years at a BC offshore school in China, and then he moved on to a school in Kenya, and it was a well-respected, highly thought of IB school with an international student body. And when he returned to Canada and got a job in the school district recognized his 5 years working in the BC offshore school system, but they did not recognize his time working at this world-class international school. So there's an example of how it can be a real benefit to start your career in a BC offshore school and make sure that you are getting credit for that when you return to Canada in terms of your placement on the salary scale.